I'm Chris Wallace, reporting from the Republican National Convention in Tampa, where a big storm and Mitt Romney are the two top stories. In a Fox News Sunday exclusive, we'll sit down with the governor on the campaign trail to discuss the issues and what he needs to do at the convention. If voters take away one thing from your big acceptance speech on Thursday night, what do you want that to be? Then we get a rare look behind the scenes with the Romneys at their summer home in New Hampshire. You'll hear about the Romney Olympics, what goes on at the kitchen table, and the role Mrs. Romney plays in the campaign. Do you give your husband advice?
Not on policy.
Do you give advice on strategy?
Poor Mitt. He gets advice from everybody, even me.
I was going to say, I didn't know she didn't give advice on policy.
It's all only on Fox News. We spent much of this week with the Romneys. In a few minutes, we'll give you a rare look at life inside the family and our surprisingly candid talk with Mitt and Ann Romney. But first, we caught up with the governor late this week on the campaign trail in Michigan. Governor, welcome back to Fox News Sunday.
Thanks, Chris. Good to be with you.
What do you hope to achieve over this next week in Tampa?
Well, I'd like people to stand back and say, what are the big issues that America faces? And what are the answers that I have and that Paul Ryan has for the issues that we face? And I believe that if people stand back and consider all that America has to deal with going forward, they'll recognize that we're the only team that has answers for these challenges. And they're big and bold answers. America needs that kind of help at a time when so many people are out of work or underemployed or having a hard time making ends meet.
If voters take away one thing from your big acceptance speech on Thursday night, what do you want that to be?
That I believe in America and in the American people. That I believe that this nation is unique and exceptional and that we have everything we need to continue to lead the world in prosperity and in peace.
In the wake of Congressman Todd Akin's comments last Sunday, the Obama campaign is once again attacking Republicans for what they call the so-called war on women. Now, I know that you have an economic argument about jobs and opportunity, but I'd like you to deal with the social issues aspect of this specifically. How do you answer the Obama charge that they offer more support, more choice to women when it comes to abortion or rape or birth control or women's health care?
Well, first of all, with regards to women's health care, look, I'm the guy that was able to get health care for all of the women and men in my state. They're just talking about it at the federal level. We actually did something, and we did it without cutting Medicare and without raising taxes, number one. Number two...
So you're saying look at Romney Care?
Well, I'm very proud of what we did and the fact that we helped women and men and children in our state. Number two, and we did it without cutting Medicare, which obviously affects a lot of women. The way the president cut Medicare, $716 billion for current retirees, that's a real problem. And then with regards to contraceptives, of course, Republicans, and myself in particular, recognize that people should have a right to use contraceptives. There's absolutely no validity whatsoever to the Obama effort to try and bring that up. And with regards to the issue of abortion, that is something where men and women have alternative views on that, or different views. We look at an issue like that with great seriousness and sobriety and recognize that different people have reached different conclusions, but it's not just men who think one way. Women also, in many cases, are pro-life. There are two lives at stake, the child, the unborn child, and the mom, and I care for both of them.
But according to the polls, there is a gender gap. You lead the president among men, he leads you among women. Specifically, how much do you think Congressman Akin's remark about, quote, legitimate rape hurts you?
Oh, I think it was a terrible statement on his part. I think it was uninformed. I think it was outrageous and offensive. I've asked him to get out of the race. I think I've distanced myself from the kind of thing he said as far as I possibly can. He was wrong. And it obviously is being used by Democrats to try and cast a shadow on our entire party, and it's not. It's the leaders of our party have pretty much unanimously said, you know, Mr. Akin, get out of the race. You've said something which is highly offensive.
The Democrats are running some ads right now. It looks like your campaign logo, except it's Romney, Ryan, Akin.
Well, it really is sad, isn't it? With all the issues that America faces, for the Obama campaign to continue to stoop to such a low level they understand, and they're wise enough to understand that people like myself who've asked Todd Akin to get out of the race are doing so because we vehemently disagree with what he said and believe it hurts our party and I think is damaging to women.
Let's run through a few issues. You say the president is raiding Medicare and that you would restore the $716 billion that he takes out of Medicare to pay for Obamacare. But the Medicare trustees say if you do that, that part of Medicare, the hospital trust fund, starts to run out of money in 2016 instead of 2024. Now, your big reform, the premium support, doesn't kick in for another decade, so how would you keep Medicare solvent when it starts to run out of money in just 4 years?
Well, I'm replacing Obamacare, and so the things I will replace Obamacare with will also help hold down the cost of health care, keep it from growing at the massive rate it's been growing. So I'm not just getting rid of Obamacare, I'm replacing it. And one thing's for sure, cutting Medicare for current seniors by $716 billion is not being done to save Medicare, it's being done to pay for Obamacare. And restoring that money to Medicare does not make it less solvent, it makes it more solvent.
But can you give a couple of examples of the specific things you would do between 2013 and 16 to help keep the hospital trust fund solvent?
You mean those 3 years?
Those 4 years.
Okay, for the 4 years, specifically what's going to happen in those 4 years?
Yeah.
Well, you're asking for my plan for health care, and it indicates a whole series of things. One is to have individuals be able to purchase their own insurance and do so on a tax advantage basis. Two is to make sure that we protect
But I'm talking
people.
about Medicare.
Well, but if you take action that helps bring down the cost of health care, slow down health inflation, that also helps Medicare. But one thing's for sure, putting money back into Medicare helps it, it doesn't hurt it.
You accuse the president of running an angry and desperate campaign. You've even used the phrase a campaign of hate. The president this week said, look, I pointed out the differences between us on policy. Where do you see a campaign of hate?
Well, when the president accuses me of being a felon, or when his staff does, and he doesn't distance from that, when I have a PAC which says that I'm responsible for someone's death, and he won't distance himself from that, why, I would suggest that that's a campaign of anger and divisiveness. I think his whole campaign has been about dividing the American people. It's between the haves and the have-nots, the people of one location versus another. This is one street versus another street. That's the kind of divisiveness that I think Americans recognize, and I think it's one of the reasons why his campaign, despite spending massively more than our campaign, that his campaign hasn't gained the traction that he would have expected. I think people have seen this kind of a character assassination and divisiveness as being very different than the campaign of hope and change which he ran on originally.
You talk about spending. The Romney and Obama campaigns together so far have spent over $500 million, and that doesn't even include any of the outside groups, any of the super PACs. When I was talking with Mrs. Romney the other day, she said that if you're elected, you would like to begin to get some of this huge amount of money, some would say obscene amounts of money, back out of politics, and would consider accepting federal matching funds in 4 years. Is that true?
Oh, absolutely. This president, when he was candidate Obama last time, was the first post-Watergate candidate for president who said he was going to push aside the federal spending limits and spend an unlimited amount based on what he could raise. And to be competitive, we obviously are following suit. But I would far rather have a setting where we had both agreed to the federal spending limits. Look, what he's done has meant that both of us have to spend an inordinate amount of time fundraising. We can't spend as much time on the campaign trail. And frankly, it increases the potential of money having influence in politics. It's really, I think, an outrageous decision on his part. And remarkably to me, the more liberal voices that have been fighting for campaign finance reform for decades had almost nothing to say when their candidate was the one who blew up the campaign finance achievements that have been made over the past decade or so.
You have taken a lot of heat about tax returns, and I want to ask you one specific question about that. You've been running for president for almost 8 years, and the question is, why didn't you years ago, somewhere over the last 8 years, go to the people running your blind trust and say to them, let's get out of the Swiss bank accounts, let's get out of the investments in the Cayman Islands, even if it means we have to pay more taxes so we can clear the decks politically?
Well, first of all, there was no reduction, not $1 reduction in taxes by virtue of having an account in Switzerland or a Cayman Islands investment. The dollars of taxes remained exactly the same. There was no tax savings at all. And the conduct of the trustee in making investments was entirely consistent with U.S. law, and all the taxes paid were those legally owed, and there was no tax savings by virtue of those entities.
But why not just go to him a long time ago and say, get out of these things, because you know...
Don't invest in anything outside the United States. I don't know whether a trustee, I mean, I could have said, don't make any investments in any foreign companies, in any foreign bonds, in any foreign currency, only U.S. entities. And by the way, don't buy any foreign products. Don't have any Japanese TVs or foreign cars. I mean, yeah, I could have done that, but you know, I did live my life, and I expect that by virtue of disclosing all these things, people can take a look at it and see whether that's something they're comfortable with or not. I'm not going to try and hide who I am and try and manipulate my life to try and avoid the truth.
So what do you make of this talk? I can't say it's all this talk, but there is certainly some about the Cayman Islands and the Swiss bank account.
Well, I understand that's what the Democrats and the Obama people will do. Again, their campaign is not about the big issues that America faces. Their campaign is not about the fact that you have 23 million people out of work and half the kids coming out of college can't find work. Their campaign is trying to find something to say, gee, he had a Swiss bank account, which apparently was done by the blind trustee. I mean, I had no involvement in this, but the blind trust said, oh, we're going to have some currencies in U.S. currency and some in foreign currency. That tends to be something which investors do, but they're trying to make that seem like it's some unsavory action, and frankly, all the taxes are paid exactly as owed, and there was no tax savings by virtue of having that vehicle.
Finally, you are about to become the Republican nominee for president, one step away from the Oval Office. Your beloved father, George Romney, tried for this, didn't make it. You have tried for 8 years. I want to ask you on a personal basis, not political, but personal. How do you feel? What are your thoughts as you take a very, very big step?
Chris, you may find this hard to believe, but this for me is not at all about me or about what this means for me or what it means for our family. I mean, this is not an ego ride for me. I'm really concerned about America. And I think this president is weakening America in very fundamental ways, and a lot of people are suffering for it now, and that over the coming decade, the decisions he's making will cause a lot more people to suffer. And I look at this as a responsibility and a privilege. It's an honor to be the nominee of my party. But this is about an opportunity to get America on track again. And that's what I'm thinking about. Can I win this thing? Can I be successful in replacing President Obama? If I can, I want to make sure that we get the country back on track. So for me, I'm focused on not letting down the millions of people, it's literally millions now, who've endorsed my effort, who've sent checks in to help me campaign. I feel an enormous responsibility. I don't feel ebullient with oh, you know, aren't I great for having got this? I feel like, wow, a lot of people are counting on me. They're hoping I'll be able to win, and I'll be able to get America on track again.
All right, I'm going to take one last swing at the personal side of this, though, and I take your point. Have you been thinking a lot about your dad recently, and what would he say?
I always think about my dad, and my mom for that matter. I think a lot about them, and you know, I'm drafting a convention speech and thinking about the kinds of things my dad would say if he had the chance to offer that speech. And I mean, I think like most guys who've lost their mom and dad, we think about them a lot. I think about him when I pray. I think about him in the daytime.
And what do you think he would say about you having taken this step that he was unable to in being the Republican nominee?
He gave some advice to the new governor of Michigan, John Engler, years ago. And I've heard him give it to many people, which is be bold. Don't worry about what people think. Just be bold. Get the job done. That's the advice he'd give me.
Governor, thank you, and have a good week in Tampa.
Thanks, Chris.
Up next, a side of Mitt and Ann Romney you've never seen with their family at their summer home in New Hampshire as we continue from Tampa, Florida, site of the Republican National Convention. And we're back now in the Fox News skybox at the Tampa Bay Times Forum. One of Mitt Romney's biggest problems is the perception pushed by the Obama campaign he is out of touch. and doesn't understand what many American families are going through. Earlier this week, the Romneys invited us to their New Hampshire vacation spot, opening their home to cameras for the first time in this campaign. The Romneys' summer home is a beautiful place set right on the shore of Lake Winnipesaukee. But the first thing we noticed was a sign next to the front door the boys gave their parents some years back. Bed and breakfast, Ann and Mitt Romney hosts.
It's not quite hot enough, you see.
Inside, they were making Mrs. Romney's trademark buttermilk pancakes. She prepares the batter, he cooks them.
I know it's a little early, I'm just taking a look. I'm just going to do it anyway, see? Yeah, exactly.
Honestly, is this the first time you've ever done this in your life? Everything in the house is a family affair. They designed the island in the kitchen with a hole in it so the grandchildren can join in.
There's sometimes as many as 6 of them in there at one time, and they can work as well and make sandwiches or do whatever they can. And I stand here and I'm kind of the orchestra leader.
You're kind of a short order cook, aren't you?
Well, look at this. She had to make 2 different types of batter.
Now, what do your grandkids call you?
Papa.
Your papa.
They call me Papa.
Pancakes, Papa?
They call me Papa.
And Mrs. Romney?
Is Mamie.
I'm
For a
Mamie.
while, for a blessed while, we were Ike and Mamie.
As a joke. I mean, it was like
Ike,
a joke.
Ike and Mamie.
The governor served up the pancakes, and that started the first controversy of the day.
Now, Chris, are you a real maple syrup guy? Are you?
Sure he is.
Oh, I'm a real
Real maple syrup. Now, this we will tell you is New Hampshire maple syrup.
Well, is there any other kind?
Yes, there is.
There's Vermont.
There's Vermont.
Yes, but Vermont isn't a swing state.
Right. New Hampshire is.
But maple syrup from any state wasn't what the governor wanted.
Are you putting peanut butter on my buttermilk pancakes?
I'm not going to put them on Chris's, don't worry, honey.
That is sacrilege.
There, I knew it was coming.
I decided to get off that sticky subject by quickly eating my pancakes. Well, that's good.
Yummy, isn't it?
That is sensational.
Yeah.
What else are you going to say?
I know.
That's their oldest son, Tad, who was there with his wife, Jen, and their kids. So, Tad, what are family meals like?
A little bit of craziness. Dad always goes to the line first because he doesn't want to wait for all the grandchildren because it takes forever. All the parents are cutting the meat and serving everything up, and he's usually finished by the time the rest of us sit down. But
he starts on the dishes, which is
he does get an early start on the dishes.
Talk around the table is usually about family and sports, not politics. And they save the really serious stuff for nighttime, after the kids go to bed.
In the family room, and all sit around, and we begin by taking one couple and saying, let's talk about your life and the decisions you have, and then everybody offers their advice. And
Tag and Jen, do you like having your parents and your brothers and your sisters-in-law, do you like having them all weigh in on your lives?
Yeah, we're careful with what issues we bring forward, but yeah. it's
The Romneys hold a family reunion 1 week each summer. The parents, their 5 sons, and their wives, plus 18 grandchildren. Which brings us to the chore wheel. The kids have to make their beds, brush their teeth, and read scripture. The sons and their wives get to clean up.
There are 3 areas that get messy, so it's cleaning the 3 areas and sweeping the floors, and finally, kitchen duty, cleaning up. So this changes every day by one motion, and everybody gets a different job.
Now, I notice what's conspicuously missing here is Mitt and Ann.
We're involved in all of the above.
It was time to sit down with the governor and Mrs. Romney. For someone who's been running for president the better part of 8 years, the polls show a lot of people still don't have a good fix on him. Mrs. Romney, your son Tag says that you are the great Mitt stabilizer, and you have said that sometimes you feel you have to talk him off the rails. When do you bring out the stabilizer, and what is it you do?
Well, you know, Mitt can get intense sometimes. And maybe people don't recognize that, but there's also times when he's just my stabilizer too. So it works both ways.
We
just talk.
We talk it out.
You know, it's not anything specific that I do. It's just being around each other. I think just being around each other gives us a sense of security and serenity and peace and all those good things that just happen just by being together.
I think she has an intuitive sense in looking at people and considering individuals as to which people are telling us the straight story, which people are a bit phony. She has a sense of how other people might feel about something.
Let's talk about your role in the campaign and what your role would be in the White House. Do you give your husband advice?
Not on policy.
Do you give advice on strategy? Do you give advice on staff?
Poor Mitt. He gets advice from everybody, even me.
I was going to say, I didn't know she didn't give advice on policy.
Yeah, I might weigh in on that too sometimes.
Anne is really good. She is really good at seeing things in ways others don't see them, and being able to provide that openly to me, and I value it very highly. She has been my best friend, obviously, and my counselor throughout my life.
You do disagree on some issues.
Oh, you're not going to ask? You're going to ask me which ones? I'm not going to tell you.
Can you give me one?
No.
Why not?
Because I think we have to have a united front on that area.
Let's talk about Planned Parenthood. You've had serious health problems. Back in the 90s, you gave some money to Planned Parenthood. What do you think of your husband's policy to cut off federal funding for Planned Parenthood?
Well, I think that it's important that distinction is made that it's federal funding. It doesn't mean that there's not going to be a Planned Parenthood. He and Paul are going to get to Washington, and they are going to balance this budget, and they're going to have to be there's going to be cuts. There's going to be cuts made to a lot of programs that people aren't going to like, and it's just what the reality of the situation is right now. We are going to have to face some tough places.
I think Planned Parenthood, given the fact that it's also a major provider of abortions, shouldn't be receiving federal funding. I think it should be receiving funding from people who want to contribute and support the effort of breast exams and so forth. But I don't think it's a responsibility of the federal government to be providing money to Planned Parenthood.
Mrs. Romney, there's a perception among many voters that this fella is out of touch. How do you help people feel his compassion, that for lack of a better phrase, he feels their pain?
I wish everyone could see him how I see him, because as a mother, I've seen him how compassionate he's been with me as a wife and raising these small children, and how he always valued my work as being more important than his.
How about the question of feeling the pain and the compassion for the larger American family, for all the folks out there who are struggling?
Well, I think that's why we're running. Whenever I introduce or talk to, especially fundraising groups, I'll look out and I'll see everyone's looking like they're doing pretty well here. I'm like, guess what, guys? We're not running for you. We're running for those folks that are really worried about how they're going to have a paycheck, or they're really worried about how they're going to be able to afford to educate their children. That's what we're running for. We're not running to make your lives easier.
Governor, does it bother you that according to the polls, people don't like you more, or is that not important?
All I can do is be who I am. Remember that Popeye line, I am what I am, and that's all what I am? And I'm doing my very best to try and get this country back on track to help the people who need to be sure they can find a good job, that they can have a secure retirement, that their child will get the kind of education their child needs. These are things people worry about, and I know how to help make those things happen, and that's why I'm in the race.
Governor, let me ask you a lightning round of in or out of touch questions. Do you go to the grocery store?
Yes.
You act like I'm an idiot asking you that.
I will tell you something. When I was really, really sick, and this is where I think people need to understand where Mitt comes from. I was unable to do anything that in a normal life. I couldn't go to the grocery store. I couldn't cook dinner or anything. This was during the time Mitt was running the Olympics, and he was, putting in long hours. He would come home, on his way home, he would stop at the grocery store. He was making dinner. He was doing all of those things and saying, Anne, it's okay. You're fine. Don't worry about these things. That's not why I love you, because you go to the store and you make dinner. I love you because I love you, not what you do.
Mrs. Romney, I noticed that there's no staff here, no cooks, no maids.
Nope.
Why not?
Mitt and I are pretty independent. That's how we like it. Like to do our own things. I think Mitt ironed his own shirt this morning. I noticed he was doing the laundry last night.
I also hear from my sources that you have an unhealthy attraction to Costco.
Oh, we both love Costco. I love Costco.
Why?
It's great. Are you kidding? Have you ever been to it?
Yeah, I've been to Costco.
I like Costco.
Well,
I'm in touch. What are you talking about?
It's got great produce.
I know how to shop Costco. You go in the door. I don't want everyone to learn this trick. You go in the door, you take a sharp right, and you go way down to the back of the store, and just shop the outside of the aisles.
Really?
Boom, boom, boom.
She also got me one of these 3-packs of shirts the other day from Costco, and they're very nice shirts.
The Kirkland shirts. He's wearing them all the time now. I'm like, hey, that shirt looks pretty good. I got it at Costco.
What are the Romney Olympics?
In the summertime, the boys and daughters-in-law and I get together. There's a swimming component, and then a running component, and a biking component.
Now that's deteriorated over time.
I know, it's deteriorated. That was for a while. We didn't do that this year. This year we went down.
It's when Mitt started getting beaten by the daughters-in-law is when that piece
Well, I was
stopped.
going to ask about that because I heard an ugly rumor that when you started losing the physical competition, you started adding old guy events like nail hammer.
That's right. That's exactly right. We had to find some way for me to get back in the competition.
He still comes in last. It doesn't matter.
No, that's not true.
The Romneys took us outside. Mrs. Romney helped 2-year-old Johnny with his shoes. The governor showed off a new trick Tag's dog Reggie just learned. Is this where the Romney Olympics take place?
Right here. This right here is the site of the lumberjack events. All right, the sawing and the hammering, and over there under the little awning there is the pull-up contest. We throw the footballs at the trees. You have to hit each one of the trees to get full points.
It looks like a summer camp with a beach volleyball court and a trampoline and a dock filled with boats. But then you see the patrol boat anchored just offshore, and it reminds you, this man may soon be president.
I sure hope so. I'm planning on it. It's a critical time for the country, and the things I've learned over my life and the people that I've learned to work with, I think are the kind of people we need to get the country on track.
Earlier, I asked the governor about that from a more personal perspective. As you sit here on the verge of becoming the Republican nominee for president, what does this woman mean to you, and what role has she played in your journey, where you are now, and where you may be soon?
At the beginning, I just loved her. Now she's much more than just the person I love. She's also the person that I really live for. Ann is my counselor, my friend, my inspiration, but also the person I love. And if there's anything, if I have any time available, and people say, what would you like to do? The thing I'd like to do is to be with Ann and do something together.
Not a bad guy, is he?
That's pretty good.